Hey Emma, so let's look at page 17, number 11. This one is a little bit different because this guy right here is not a perfect square. However, that doesn't mean that we still can't solve it. So let me show you. Basically what this means is 18 is just one of your values for y. That's all it is, right? This equation, x plus 4 squared equals y. And 18 is just one of those values for y, all right? So I'm going to plug that 18 in here, all right? And then we need to solve for x to find out what the x value is. So the way we do that is we extract the square, all right? So we get x plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 18. Well, how else can we write the square root of 18? Well, the square root of 18 also equals the square root of 9 times 2, because 9 times 2 equals 18. So I can also write that as the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. That's a rule of square roots. So now I've got the square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Well, what is the square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3 times the square root of 2. All right? So plus or minus the square root of 18 is the same thing as plus or minus 3 times the square root of 2. All right? So then we have our values for x. We can subtract 4 from both sides. Subtract 4. So x is going to equal negative 4 plus the square, plus 3 times the square root of 2. And it's going to equal negative 4 minus 3 times the square root of 2. Okay? Now, this is not a number that we know. We can certainly figure out on a calculator. All right? However, the square root of 2 is going to be, I don't know, it's going to be like 1 point something. Okay? So, in essence, this is going to be, x is going to be negative 4 plus 3 square root of 2, or negative 4 minus 3 square root of 2. That goes to 18. Okay? Now, we're not going to use these values to graph it because we can get the actual value by using our calculator, but we need to find values for y that are perfect squares so we can actually graph this thing, okay? So I just wanted to show you this to let you know this is why we're having troubles with this, I would imagine. So let's go back to the original equation. All right. And remember, 18 is just a value for y. Does that mean we have to use 18 as our value for y? No. So I can choose, first of all, to find the vertex, I can use 0 as a value for y. So here I'm going to find the vertex. So if I take the square root, x plus 4 is going to equal 0. So when y equals 0, x is going to equal, subtract 4 from both sides, is going to equal negative 4. And this right here, because x only has one value, that is the vertex of our parabola. Okay? So then we can plot other points. All right? What else is a perfect square that we can use for y? Well, 1 is, so we can put 1 in for the value of y, right? So what would that be? Well, you take the square root of both sides. So x plus 4 is going to equal 1. I'm sorry, plus or minus 1. All right, so then I subtract 4 from both sides. So x is going to equal negative 4 plus 1 or negative 4 minus 1, which this equals negative 3 and this equals negative 5. So when y equals 1, x is going to equal negative 3 and negative 5. All right, well, what's another perfect square? Well, we can certainly use 4, can't we? Because that's a perfect square. Right, so let's plug in 4 for a value of y. So we take the square root, x plus 4 equals plus or minus 2. So we subtract 4 from both sides. So x is going to equal negative 4 plus 2 or negative 4 minus 2. And this is going to equal negative 2 and this is going to equal negative 6. So when y equals 4, x is going to equal negative 2 or negative 6. Okay? So with those values, I can actually plot out or graph my parabola. All right? Running out of ink here. All right, so there's our x-axis, that's positive. There's our y-axis, which is positive. That's negative. That's negative. So our vertex is when x equals negative 4. So that's negative 1, 2, 3, negative 4. Y is 0. So that right there is our vertex. That is point negative 4, 0. All right. So then, 1, 2. So then we look at this. When y equals 1, x equals negative 3. So that's negative 3, 1. And it's also negative 5, 1. So those are my 2 points when y equals 1. When y equals 4, well, we've got 4 up here. When y equals 4, x is going to equal 2. I'm sorry, negative 2. And it's going to equal negative 6. So now there's our points, and we just go ahead and connect those. So this is the parabola, the graph of, where'd it go? What was it? Oh, of x plus 4 squared equals y. Right? So on your book, those examples, you just set it up to y. So it's x plus 4 squared equals y. The book gives you y equals 18, but we don't have to use the 18. We can use 0, we can use 1, we can use 4, we can use 9, 16. Those are all those perfect squares to be able to graph that parabola. Okay? So I think maybe the hard thing was understanding that 18, so the problem, number 11, said x plus 4 squared equals 18. Maybe part of the difficulty is understanding that 18 is just a value for y. It's an arbitrary value for y. We can put whatever we want y to be. All right? We can change that 18 to 4. Or we can use 9. Or we can use 16 in order to graph that quadratic. Okay? Hopefully that helps. But just keep in mind, when you see 18 here, all that is a arbitrary value for y. Okay? You can make y equal whatever